Uh, Remember last time we were also discuss the importance of modeling. We look at how data structures, structure charts could be used. And today we will focus more on data process model. And this is a traditional technique which we will use to describe how data and processes in which describe the system. And the other alternative modeling techniques is object modeling. And then which actually you have data processes and we put in them in objects and transaction events, that which we'll be discussing the later section, right? Okay, system analysis basically use these models to visualize or write documentation to understand the importance, especially in the business processes and operations. So it's again very important. Right. Now let's look at more detail about data and process modeling. Data and process modeling techniques can be used to show how the system transfers data into useful information. And then what we will get from outcome of this modeling is it's what we call logical model, right? So when we talk about logical model, the logical model which we are going to show what the system should do, like implementation, we are not really worried about at that level. And physical model, basically later stage, especially in the design stage, then describes how the system will be constructed. So basically in the beginning, this is where the planning comes in. We look at what should happen within the system. So there are different tools are using. We can think of couple. Here we are going to focus on three tools: data flow diagram, DFDs, or data dictionaries, data about data, and then finally the process descriptions. Now, when it comes to data flow diagrams, we use some graphical representation to see how the input interacts with the system to get useful information. So what we get from output from this, we call a logical model. And that logical model shows what happens within the system, right? But we are not going to into detail how exactly it does it, but we are going to like what system does. So when it comes to graphical system, there are various symbols are people actually proposed and use. But Jean and Sarsen symbols are the ones that actually we are going to discuss. This is the main representation symbols used in the recommended textbooks for this module is. So there we are trying to identify few things, that is entities, data stores, data flows, and the processes, right? As I already told you, in different symbols, we use different representation, we use different graphical symbols. So you have to make sure stick into one type of symbol set when you're coming up with the data flow diagrams. So in our case, we'll focus on Jean and Sarsen's symbols, which means we will use rectangle shape to indicate the entities like customers, and the data stores meaning like storing data in files, for example, students, and all the processes looks like rectangle shape with rounded corners, and then within that you will have the process name, and finally connect each of these different parts using data flow so data flows or that flow arrows. Right now, a few guidelines before you start drawing data flow diagrams. Usually we are trying to limit the diagram into one page. So that's the standard, but definitely you can go beyond that, depend on your requirement. And whatever the system name, that will use in what we call the context diagram. So context diagram means the high level, the top level data flow diagram, right? That means basically in context diagram, you show how the whole system interact with the other parts, right? Now, for example, if you take Grady system, now we are going to show the Grady system and all the other processes which involves it. And then when you want to go into more detailed levels, we normally call lower level data flow diagrams, right? We can talk about in detail. Now, for example, under the Grady system, you can have like multiple processes like establishing a grade book, which means you enroll the students and then you create a grading books for them. And then second one, for example, you can assign the final grade to a course, and finally you can produce a grade project, right? When you write down names, remember that for each of these symbols you should use unique names, because that is also very important. And then you will also provide a reference number. So context diagram, I told you, it's at topmost level. You usually start with process 0. Now, when you want to go into detail what is inside the context diagram, we call next level DFD diagram 0. There you will have multiple processes like 1, 2, 3. And if you go beyond another low level, then you will have diagrams with 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on. So that is basically a brief discussion on how to draw DFDs. Right. Now, now when you have as a first step, you should develop something called context diagram. So context diagram means it's give you a top level view of the information system. Okay, as the first step in data flow diagrams, you should come up with what we call the context diagram. So what is a context diagram? So you can say that it's the top level view of the information system. That means it should show everything or high level view of the system. So you will show normally the boundaries and also scope, which means what you can do within the system. So to start with, we will create only a single process under the context diagram. So this single diagram we will use to indicate the whole system. And usually we use number 0. Right? Then there are definitely, we know, entities around this. And then you can specify what is there, right? All the entities, basically in the perimeter we call in the page. And finally, we can use data flow to connect to the entities, right? So that context diagram. But make a note that data stars are not shown in context diagram. Data stores means places where we keep the data. So that will not shown within the context diagram. Make a note of this, again, very important. Now let's look at some examples to understand what a context diagram is. The first example comes under grading system. You know that within the universities, usually you have what we call instructors. They are the ones who are going to assign a grade in this particular case because it's a grading system, right? For example, the first block, you can see the process number -0 and the name is given, that is called grading system, right? So this is with one of them. Then there are other things which interact with the system, which we call entities. Now, for example, there could be student recording systems, there could be instructors, there could be students. So in the process of getting final grades, so system will look after a couple of things. First of all, right, student can submit for recording, right? And what it does, basically it can grade the work. If those are not the cases, then you can look at, so the grade reports are sent to instructors once they insert grading parameters. Finally, recording system, you have class roster, which means the number of students, their registration numbers, and so on, without any grade. And later in the process, you are going to, put the final grades, right? So that's about the context diagram. What you need to remember is you put your this. So we put 0 here, right? Which indicates a context diagram and in the grading system. So 4, we have entities, right? Let's look at another example. So in this example, we see order system, right? So let's look at, so we have an over system. Again, the context diagram starts with 0. Then you have list of people who interact with the ordering system, customer, warehouse, sales rep, and bank accounting. Okay. So in this one, if I explain the process, so in this example, you see a ordering system, that is our software system, and the customers are there. Customer goods coming from warehouses. Once customer paid, you will get different ones based on commission, based on bank deposit and cash receipt entry. So in this process starts with customer placing an order in the order system. And then you have to look for the whatever the the equipments, whether they are available. So you can send the picking lists to warehouse, and then you will get the completed order. So if the order is not accepted, then you can see order rejection notice comes under the same. And finally, you can see once the payment is made by the customer, so that will put into serve into different entities, like you will give a commission to the sales rep, you put a bank deposit to the bank, and then still you can use online cash recipient. Once you finish the context diagram, then we can go into details of the processes. The first higher level we call data zero DFD. Right. Now, when you want to show details, we can also use symbols. But then in data flow diagrams in this stage, you can have data stores as well. So this diagram shows you how this refinement happens. Let's say what is inside between A and B is the process. But if you want more detail, you can elaborate more, because input will be A and output will be B. That is if this is a 0th level, this will be the level 1. Then if you go beyond, then you can have something like this, right? So the very first step from here you can take, whenever you want to ask so for example, here you can say there are 1 between A and B, that is called F here. And if you go into detail and explore, then you can identify number of processes. So when you look at very high level, then you have a context diagram. Then you will have level 1, level 2, and so on, different levels of details. Right. So let's look at our grading system, the previous example. In grading system, what happens whenever a student actually submits their work, the system will grade the student work, and then system also get the grading details from the instructor, and finally it will output a grade report. Right. Then if you have this grading system 0, that is the top level, now within that usually there are a lot more to do. So that is what we are going to see. This will be the same diagram, but here it has changed. Right. Can one of you tell me why we are getting like this? So this is what we need to put. Yes, what is the difference between the very first one and this one?
It has a data store, sir.
Yes, one thing is it has data stores. Yes, good, which we have not seen in the previous one. What else?
And multiple
Yes,
processes.
multiple processes.
A good point. Yes. Now, usually when we have context diagram, we have only one here. So that is the only that actually represent the whole system. But when it comes to level 0 or go down in levels, then you have more processors. Now, for example, here we have 4 processors as established grade book, assigned final grade, grade student work, and produce grade report. So there are 4 different type of processors we can see, right? Although we put 1, 2, 3, 4 here, there's no order as such. It depends on how we are going to work together these, these diagrams. And the line indicates where the data flows. Now, for example, in grade established book process, if you take it, there are a couple of places you get the inputs. You get the class roster, meaning the number of students, right, from the student record system. And the instructor will tell how to grade, right? Once you do this, you are going to save the outcome in the gradebook data store. Then second one, you can see grading details you are taking from the gradebook. And then finally, you will come back to the final grade. Then the third one, you can see, sorry, in the third one, grade student work, you can see student will submit the work and you can see the graded work, and student grade will be recorded in the grade book. And finally, all the class details are getting from the grade book data store, and then grade report will be available for the instructor. So this is actually one way of looking at what is happening as a one level down. So previous one, we have seen only one grading system. That means one single processors, one single process, and there's no data stores, right? And this is one level. If you want, actually, you can go, level 1 as well, right? Level 1 as well. So we have the grading system. And this is the second one, our second example, where we have the order system. So you can see here again, we have customer, warehouse, and also sales rep, bank, and accounting. So this is a context diagram. Okay. And if you look at diagram 0 DFD, which is more detailed version, now we can see 3 sub processes: fill order, create invoice, and apply payment. Right? The fill order means once customer order, then you check this in the warehouse. If it is the items are not there, you actually redact the order. If the data is there, then you complete the order and you create invoice. That invoice data is recorded inside the account receivable. At the same time, this will be sent to the user for the payment. Then apply payment. So again, you will get the payment details, right? That is apply payment. Then you will get invoice details. And customer will pay. And once we process the payment, then there will be commission for the sales department. There'll be a deposit for the bank, and accounting you will have cash.
Doctor, excuse me. Have you been explaining, Doctor? We couldn't hear your voice.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's muted. Can you tell me from where you have missed?
Start step 3, Doctor. Slide step 3.
Here, I guess, right?
Yeah, that before that slide with the explanation, Doctor.
Okay, sure. Right.
Step 3, Doctor. Before this
Okay.
is steps 2, then next step 3, Doctor.
Thank you very much for letting me know. So mistakenly, I have put muted. Right. So what we were discussing is data flow diagram refinement. So the very first one we called context diagram, then level 0, level 1, and so on. And how we go from the context diagram into details, there are two techniques that we discuss. The two techniques are leveling or exploding or balancing, right? So leveling is basically you will have a very detailed diagram until you go to primitives. Balancing means we are going to make sure that inputs and outputs are aligned properly. That means input and output from the parent previous step are maintained in the child diagrams. Now, for example, if I go back, it will be the same as here. So let's say this is the context diagram. The input is A, output is B. Now we are going to go into more detailed version of this. And here is also A, and input is A, output is B, which means like we try to balance it. Similarly, if you go into one of these processes and go into details, there are two inputs X and Y here, and the outcome is set, which means we maintain the balance, right? And this can be seen in these examples as well, right? So for example, in this one, we have a grading system, and this is the context diagram where we will see main external entities and their data flows, right? And then if you want to go more in details about these processes, then we can create sub-processes, right? So here the process is 0, starts with 0. So we can have 1, 2, 3. Remember, I told you there should not be an order, although we will say 1, 2, 3. So 1 is you establish a grade book, and 2 is you assign the grades, and 3 is student um, work. Right. Now, if you want to go more details, then you can go further, right? So in the order system also, if you look at this, so this is the context diagram, and these are the external entities, and these are the data flows. So first one is you go into details. So in this one, this we expanded, then we have three different processes. So we have fill order, create invoice, and apply payment. Then again, let's say you want to go into more details, let's say under first one, right? So we can say by using this 1.1, right? 1.2, 1.3, and so on. So that means you go into more detail, and the input and output will be the same, right? We try to make it balance. We have discussed the details, right? So as you can see here, so the expansion comes here because in the previous one, we didn't have in details, right? So for example, in this one, this is comes with our order system. So order system, we have 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you want to expand third one, this is how it comes, right? So you will have like more detailed processes are there. Right. To start with, I want you to have a simple group work before we go into today's group work. So I will assign you in uh, groups, and then I want to come up with a very simple, right, level 0 diagram and a context diagram, that means 2 levels of an information system in a typical library, right? You are free to come up with the entities and also the processes. Okay, so that to start with, that you can say, okay, library information system, you can identify what entity types are there, right? By the time I will share my note with you, so that in case you can refer. So for this one, we will take about like 15 minutes, right? From starting right now. So before start, let me post my slide in your WhatsApp group. So you will have the notes. Then I'll put you groups. Right. So I have uploaded, put the slide for today's session. So you can refer the notes up to this point. What I want to focus is to look for the main symbols that we have used and make it consistent between the context diagram and level 0 data flow diagrams. Okay, so let me put you some breakout rooms, and I'll be visiting and I'll discuss among the groups to help you out with come up with context diagram and a data flow diagram for a library information system. Right. So I'll have 8 groups. So please go inside the loop.
Discussion for us.
Yeah. That the question says draw a context diagram and a diagram 0 DFD that represents the information system at a typical library.
Yeah, first we have to draw the level 0. So that's mean information system. Library information system is a 0 level process. Shall we draw that one first? Then a second point, we have to identify the entities. Who are the entities? Hasandi?
Yeah.
Yeah, first we have to identify the entities. First, customer.
Customer.
Yeah, a customer first. I think we have to think about registration or else process. Borrow the book, or lending the book, checking the book availability.
Customer.
Okay, just to interrupt you guys, I mean, like, you don't have to think in very detailed version of this, because when you say data flow diagram, you can go into very detailed one, because this is a limited time. I told you, like, work on
Yeah,
like
15
about
minutes.
15 minutes, just familiar with the concepts.
This is the library information system. That's the
Exactly.
main process here, 0 level. If we go for more process, we have to divide it into three,
Yeah, maximum
1, 2,
three.
3. First is registration process, and section is the maintaining a process. Other one is a termination process.
Okay.
Then if you go for a first process, first customer request the application form. Then he get to back. Then he received the application from the customer. Then he have to upload in the database. That's me data store. Then he get the information about registration successfully. Then he have to get back. Then go to next process. That's been maintaining or access the library. That's mean request the or borrow the book. Then that process is check storage is availability of the book. Then data storage give back is book is availability, give for information your book is availability. If we should go for a confirmation is yes, then customer can borrow that book. That's we can related name lending services also, doctor, we can put that name also for that process.
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
are free to come in, because like that's why I put the same thing into different groups. So once we finish the exercise, let's see how far you have gone. Okay.
Then for the termination process, if you go for a terminate temporarily, then give a library card or it is terminated, or then they have to terminate from their data storage also.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if you go for a second process, we can divide it into 3 services, which is first we can availability checking process. That's mean 2.1, 2.2. This is that's mean access, borrow a book or first get and give back. Then again, hand
Okay.
it over the detail
Yeah,
also.
Anjana, you don't have to go into 2.1 and so on. So what I need is only 2 levels.
Okay,
That
doctor.
means context diagram, that means 0.
Your
And
0.
then information system, you identify what are the 3 processes which
3
actually can
process.
cover. Oh, maximum 3 is enough, because you can. And then you can identify 1, 2, 3. You define what your 1, 2, 3 is. That's enough.
That's enough.
Okay.
Okay, doctor.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, doctor.
You're welcome.
Who's that? Doctor came, yeah.
You guys are discussing.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, I just want, because I have given you limited time. So identify what are the main processes within the library information system. So the first, in the context diagram, it will be the library information system. And then you can identify a couple of entities and some data flows. And in the second one, okay, what are the processes that you want to have? Maybe maximum of 3. That would be enough. to represent the library information system.
Okay, sir.
Right. So I will let you work on that.
Yes, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
come to the library and read the, access the library books and other materials. If they like, they can get the membership. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in that a particular university or school, they have own library, but library system is common one. There are public libraries also available. So they are so it is under Pradesh Sabha or something. So
Right.
it
So that,
can be a
yeah.
stakeholder.
Yeah. So no, then we'll keep a member and the librarian. We'll put it like that. If there's a request to join with the library system, they have to process it through the librarian. So then librarian can input the membership details to the system, right? New membership details.
Dr. Pinan.
Have you finished discussing?
Yeah, Doctor, that we are just that selected the entities we are selected that library member, books and library stuff. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's enough. It's your imagination. So I don't want to, fix you like what you need, but what I'm interested is use of data flow diagram to represent library information system. It depends on what you want to represent. So the first step is you look for the context diagram as the system and also the entities. So in your case, as you said, it's only 3 entities, right?
Yes.
Yeah. In the next diagram, you go into a couple of processes under the main information system. That would be enough.
Doctor, it's not problem that that sorry, මම සිංහලෙන් පොඩ්ඩක්
No,
යහුවට
come
කමක්
on.
ඒක ඉතින් දැන් මැදට අපි දාන ලයිබ්‍රරි මේ මැනේජ්මන්ට් සිස්ටම් එකේ ඇතුලේ බිඳුව කියන එක තමයි මේ අර මේන් එක නේද අපේ සිස්ටම් එක වෙන්නේ.
Oh, if you refer different books, you might see different notations. So this particular book is recommended for our module. So they are actually to represent the main, what we call context diagram, they use the process number 0. So 0 means the whole system. And then in the next level, you are going to mark it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And if you want to go more details, then you will have, let's say, if you select 2, for example, you will get 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and so on. That's how the numbering, discuss in the book.
Doctor, it means that when we take information, library information system as our zeroth information, zeroth process, then it can have so many process under that information system.
Yeah. I mean, like the main task of a data flow diagram is identify what are the data flows. So basically, we are trying to identify 4 things here, right? We are trying to identify processes. We are trying to identify entities. We are trying to identify data stores and data flows. So these are the 4 things that we are trying to identify here. So in the context diagram, we don't have data stores. The data stores comes after the context diagram.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, yes, you can carry on. I mean, I just come here to see like how you guys are doing.
මේ එතකොට මුලින්ම අර මැද්දට එන්න එපයි මේ
ලයිබ්‍රරි මැනේජ්මන්ට් සිස්ටම් කියලා එන්න ඕනේ.
ලයිබ්‍රරි මැනේජ්මන්ට් සිස්ටම් එක.
ඔව් ඊට පස්සේ තව එකක් එන්න
ඊට
ඕනේ
පස්සේ
ලයිබ්‍රේරියන් එන්න ඕනේ ලයිබ්‍රරි මෙම්බර්ස්ලා එන්න ඕනේ.
ඔව්.
මෙම්බර්ස් ඉන්නවා ලයිබ්‍රේරියන් ඉන්නවා නේ.
ඔව්. ඊට පස්සේ ඕනනම් ඇඩ්මින් සෙට් ඇඩ්මින් පැනල් කියලා තව එකක් දාමුනේ. ඒක ලස්සන වෙන්න.
මෙම්බර්ස් ඉන්නවා ලයිබ්‍රේරියන් ඉන්නවානේ. එච්චර ඉන්නේ.
එතකොට මේ පොත්වලට අපිට මුකුත් ඕනේ නැද්ද?
ඔව් සෝමරත්න. ඔව්.
Sir, now I enter the session because electricity problem, sir.
Okay. We are having some group discussion. They will come
Okay, sir.
here, so you can wait. No problem.
What is my so I don't know about the what is my group, sir?
Now, this is not the group work. This is like some intermediate work. You can wait. No problem.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Which
sir.
one? Yeah, just wait. I mean, like they will come back.
Thank you, sir.
Librarian. Librarian and academic, the admin staff is two different.
Oh.
Oh. Librarian තමයි books issue කරන්න දාන්නේ.
Oh.
එන issue book කියන එක දාන්න librarian ට.
Oh.
හරි. ඒතකොට admin staff එකෙන් මම දැම්මේ register student කියලා system එකට දැම්මා. ආයෙ මොනවද?
Register students.
Staff name.
නුගේගොඩේ ඉඳන් මෙහෙට එන බස් නෑ. ඔර කෝල් කරලා නංගි. බස් එකේ.
පොදුවේ මීටින් එකනේ. සේරම එකක් සුරේෂ්
ප්‍රශ්න වඩයි. Okay, guys. So I gave you only very few minutes to work on this. I hope you can, work separately as groups. Just to remind you, what I have been asking for is to come up with the data flow diagram. Especially the first one is with a single process. In your case, as a library information system, identifying external entities and the data flows. So then you can identify more processes within the information systems, and then you can number. So let's say you may identify maximum of 3, and then you go into details. This time you can have data stores. But remember, one thing that we have discussed is, so these are processes. So remember, in a process, we have to have input and output always, right? In a process. And for example, when, for example, external entity interacts with the data store, it should be through a process. So that means, let's say, customer. So the customer cannot directly access the data store, right? So there are some rules which I have not going to discuss it here in detail, but you can go through the book. So in that particular case, if you need it, like we can have a discussion. Then, for example, again, let's say if you have like 2 data stores, so there should not be any interaction directly within the data stores. Again, it should come up with the processes. So there are a few things you to remind when you're completing the context diagram and data flow diagram for library information system. So the next part of the data and process modeling is we can talk about the data dictionary. That's the second part of data and process modeling, which means that you are going to keep record of everything about the system's data. So you can say that data dictionary is a central storehouse of information about the system data. And as an analysis, we use the data dictionary to collect the document and organize about the facts about the system. So basically, you are going to keep track of data flows, data stores, entities, and the processes. So it should, describe all data elements, meaningful combination of data elements. So when you talk about data elements, that means you can simply say it's a field, which may call the smallest piece of data. Now, for example, when you say student grade, we know that grades are like A, B, C, D, and so on. So that student grade can be considered data element. And data records are, we can define as a collection of data elements. So data elements are combined to records. So basically, in a record, you have a combination of related data elements, right? So for example, if you take auto parts, you can have part number, description, supply code, and so on. And if you take, for example, librarian, you can have, employee number, name, and the salary, gender, and so on. Right. And the next part would be the process description tools. Now, previous one, we capture processes and data flows. But if you want to know exactly how the process happened, right, there will be a logic basically, which we call a business logic within the process. If you want to capture that, we have to use different process description tools. Now, examples for these process dictionary tools, we call structured English, which means simple English language we use to make a structure like a pseudocode in computer programming. And you can have a decision table. You can make a table like a structure, or you can use a decision trees. So this part, we are going to look at more detail about this. Right. Now let's start with the structured English. Now, within the process, if you want to know what is the business logic means, let's say we want to decide on whether to accept or reject the order. So this is based on the credit status and the product availability. So if you want to exactly know how you are going to accept or reject the order, so in structured English can be used to show this. Now, for example, it's something like for each order, that means you know that it will be a loop where you go through each and order, and within that you have a selection. So in that selection, you check the customer status code. That means whether the customer is having enough credit. If it is yes, and the next one is if the product is also available, then we can say it's accept order. If the customer state, that means the credit is bad, or for example, product is not available, then you can say reject code. So in structured English, we simply put in words like this. Then secondly, you can have decision table. So in decision table, we can have a table like a structure. And then we are going to look at all possible situations within this. So let's look at an example. So in this example, we are going to check two conditions, right? Now, first one, we are going to accept the order if the product is available and customer credit status is okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to put up all possible combinations, right? The conditions are, we can say credit status is okay. The other one is product is in stock. So when you put it like this, there could be 4 situations. That means you can answer like yes, 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 no, no, yes, no, no, and so on, like in a truth table. So that means all possible combinations. So you can actually find out 4 possible rules when you have 2 conditions like this. So that's the first part of the decision table. Second part of the decision table, you are going to have actions. Now, there are 2 actions. Either you are going to accept the order or reject the order. So if both the credit status is okay and product is in stock, we know that we can accept the order. And all the other cases, we have to reject. Simply, the decision table, represent that information. So apart from what we have learned earlier, here you can see we focus more on business logic, how the process works, how the action will be taken. Right. A small exercise. I'm not going to put you in groups, but I want you to come up with a table structure, and then based on whatever the information given here, and I want to create a decision table, right, together with the conditions and also the actions. Shall we start? And those who finish, if you are writing in a book, take a picture, share your answer in the WhatsApp so that we can discuss. Right. Okay. The first step. So you have to put up a decision table. So which means you have to first see what are the possibilities. So that's the first step, right? So look at what are the possibilities in this particular case. What possibilities are there? Okay, in the table structure, you have to first of all identify the conditions, right? So can you tell me what are the conditions here?
Order more than $1,000 worth.
Yes, one is, okay, let me type this for you. So one condition would be, right, we can say, okay, customers, or we can say simply, order $1,000 or more. Right, that's one condition.
The second one will be they use their charge card.
Exactly. So the second one, second condition, whether they have used our charge card. Huh? Use of charge card. Right. What are the actions? Yes. We need to identify the actions. The conditions are the first. First one is whether they have ordered $1,000 or more.
5% discount.
Yeah, 5% discount.
$25 bonus coupon.
$25 bonus question, bonus coupon. Yes, we will have 5% bonus. Right, then $25 bonus. And then $5 bonus, right? You see? Can you put it like this? So actually we have to, I think, combine the first two together. 5% discount if they have used this, because you have to have both. And then additional 5% if they use our charge card. Then if you do not order 1,000 or more, they'll receive 25%. Sorry, 25 bonus coupon. All the other customers, then 5% bonus coupon. Right. So put up the condition first, like in previous case. Right. So put up the conditions. So in our case, we have order 1,000 or more, and then use of charge card. So we can have like 4 situations, which means they have spent 1,000 and more, and then they have used our charge card. They have used 1,000 or more, but they don't have used our charge card. Then they don't spend like 1,000 or more, but they have used charge card. And then they don't spend more than 1,000, or they don't use our charge card. So what will be the action?
Again, the bonus.
Yeah. So if you read it correctly, like preferred customers who order $1,000 or more are entitled to a 5% discount. And additional 5% if they use our charge card. So that means basically they entitled for 10%, which is $100, right?
Doctor, that's a good point that now we'll receive that 25 bonus. That how is that we that who do not order the $1,000 or more will that mean that first one and second one.
Yeah. So let me put these conditions and then we'll work on the actions. So here, sorry, we can have, let me say, this could be yes, yes, right? Or else this could be yes and no. Then we can have no and yes, sorry, no and yes, and no and no. So can you tell me like which action perform? First one, both are using. So which one we are getting?
10%.
5% discount and the additional 5, so total 10% discount.
Exactly. So I think we could combine this one. So we are getting actually 10% of the bonus. That means $100.
For go for a second one, only 5% discount, only go for a $1,000 more order only. 5% discount only, doctor. Second one.
Oh yeah, second one, they have ordered 1,000 or more, but they have not used our charge card. So that will be 5% discount, right? So here we are getting both 5% and 5% bonus. Then third one, they have not used 1,000 or more.
$25 bounce coupon.
Yeah, basically it's $25. So that means the third one. And finally, they have not used anything, then you are getting only $5. Let me see whether I can find. Okay, I have written everything in here, so it's not very clear. Right, I don't know whether it's very clear to you. So have you got that point, right? So when we have, I order 1,000 or more and they have used our charge card, so they are getting actually 10% with 5% bonus, 5% discount and 5% bonus, right? And the second one, if they order 1,000 and more, but they don't have used charge card, we are then they are getting only 5% only, which is $50, right? And if they have not spent $1,000, but if they have used a charge card, then they are getting $25 bonus. And then if you say, if they do not use both $1,000 or charge card, then it will be only $5. Is it clear? Or did I make you more? Any confusions?
It's clear, doctor.
How about the others? Right. Okay. So that's about decision tables. The third one and the last one we are going to discuss today is called decision trees. Decision tree is to look at the same thing, but in a different graphical representation, right? Now, for example, so if our customer, if is ordered 1,000 and more, right? We have preferred customer, then ordered 1,000 or more, right? And if the order is more than 1,000, right? And then they have used our charge card, then we are getting 5% discount and the additional 5%. If they have ordered 1,000 or more, but if they have not used the charge card, it will be 5%. If they have used 1,000 or more, if the answer is no, but then 25%. But then if they have not, ordered 1,000 and more, or either they have not used our charge card, right? Meaning the 5% bonus coupon. So this is, yeah.
It's one thing that previously that little bit that prefer customer depend on the prefer customer point, that I think that table must be some changes happening.
Yes, I think I missed that point. Yeah, true. You are true. Because remember, one point I missed is whether he will be a preferred customer or not. So irrespective of preferred customer or not, we are getting yes, you are true. So that means there are three conditions. Good that you have actually pointed out. So there are like three phases here then. We'll have conditions. We have three. That means the first one with the preferred customer. Then actually this will be a bit more detailed one. The second one is whether they have spent $1,000 or more. And then the third one, yeah, whether they have used the charge card. Yes. So that means actually how many combinations we are getting here now?
8.
Yeah, it should be 8 now, not 4, like what we did earlier. Right. So sorry about my mistake. And then possibilities then we will get yes, we are getting 5% discount and bonus 5%, then 5% discount, 25 bonus, and then $5 bonus. So do you want me to work it out, or whether you can manage by yourself? Please let me know.
Doctor, we can manage ourselves like.
Okay, sorry that I missed from the previous one. Okay, so in this one, it's more clearer, I guess. And that is what we want to highlight as well. When it comes to decision trees, so the first question you ask is whether you are a preferred customer or not. If you are a preferred customer, then the next one is whether you have ordered 1,000 or more. And finally, whether you have used our card or not, which give you all possible combinations. Right. Okay, right. So Let's work it out this with another new exercise. In this exercise, I want you to focus on, focus on use of a decision tree, right? So here is the example. It's about a university course catalog, which means you are enrolling particular subject. To enroll in, there's a course code MIS260, which is advanced course. Student must complete two prerequisites, MIS 120 and MIS 222. A student who completes either one of these prerequisites and obtain the instructor's permission, you will allow to take MIS 260. Right? So you are asked to create both decision table and a decision tree, and it asks like which one you are going to use, right? In this particular case, why do you use decision tree rather than a decision table? Right, like what we did earlier. So what are the conditions we have?
First is MIS 120 and MIS 222 have to complete first condition.
Can we put as two things?
Yes, two things separately because of next one.
We need instructor permission, right?
Yeah, we need to go for an instructor permission, and one subject have to finish, doctor. So no need to complete two subject, only one subject with the instruction permission. We can move on MIS 260.
Okay.
So there are three options. Shall we put on three options? MIS 120,
Yeah.
MIS 222, and the instruction permission. Instruction permission.
So the two we will have MIS 222, and the third one we can have instructor permission. Right. So these are the three conditions that we will have. So what are the actions?
If you go first complete years, second complete years, and the instruction permission years, he can move on MIS 20. This is the first one.
Yeah, I mean, if we start with the decision table, the actions will be, again, we have two actions, right? So that means the first one will be you are allowed to take the course, right? We can say eligible, isn't it? We can say eligible for MIS 260, and the other one is not eligible, isn't it?
Yes, not eligible.
Yeah. So we can say eligible for MIS 260. Yes. And the second one is you are not eligible. So these are the actions. Not eligible.
I answer.
Yes, please.
I don't know thing is right or wrong. That can we get that MIS 12 and MIS 22 is that both that selecting both is a one condition. That one of these, yes or no? No.
Yeah, that you can form. I mean, you are free to select that one. Now, I got your point. One condition would be completing both, and the second condition would be completing one of them. Is that what you are saying, right?
Yeah, but I don't like to say that MIS 12 or MIS 22 that both are, if they one or two, that both again දෙකම එයා තෝරගත්තොත් අනිවාර්යෙන් select වෙනවනේ.
instructor permission එක ඕනේ. Yes.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ දෙක එකට ගන්න පුළුවන් නේ අපිට. එතකොට condition දෙකක් වගේ නේද වැටෙන්නේ.
What if now if you pass only one, how do you put that?
That condition is one of these. One of the ඒ කියන්නේ එකක් තිබුණා නම් ඇති කියන එක නේද?
Yeah. So what I thought to do actually here, Prasanga, I thought, okay, so I will mark this is yes and yes. When you have yes and yes, irrespective instructor permission, actually you don't need instructor permission, you are eligible. But if you have yes and no, that means one yes and one no, then you need instructor permission to eligible for 220.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that time, yeah, I think that we want to.
But I think I got your point. So your point is you can say, okay, first condition would be something like, okay, both MIS and 120 and 222. And the second condition would be only one of them, either MIS 120 and or MIS 222. That is also possible. Right. Okay, so the rest I think you can do. So hopefully we will get 3 conditions here. So we can have yes, 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 no. Then yes, no, yes, yes, no, no, then no, yes, yes, isn't it? So 8 possible combinations comes in. May I put it like that? Okay, maybe I put the values. We can have yes, yes, yes. Then we can have yes, we can have no. Let me put directly yes, no, 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 no. And then yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, no. And then we have yes,
Chandra.
yes, no,
Chandra.
yes, no.
අනේ මට වතුර එකක් ගෙනත් දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? බොන්න.
So this is all possible combination, isn't it? Now we can have green colored one.
First is eligible for 260, doctor.
Yes, the first
Or
one.
3 completed.
Yeah,
Condition.
you don't actually need the third one because if you have the pass, then there's.
Yeah, it's compulsory. So if you go for instruction permission only, we can go for.
Yeah, so this will be yes. I will put across here. And then for the second one, again, both eligible. Third one, only one of them, but the instructor permission is given. Yes. One of them, instructor permission is not given. Right?
Not eligible.
Yes. And this is eligible, right? Because one subject, but instructor permission is given.
Not eligible. Next one.
Yeah. Next one, not eligible. And all the instructor permission is given. Both subjects fail, so not eligible. So you can see if I put a table, it looks like this. So first case, if you pass both, yes, you are eligible for 220. So first 2 instances, in both cases, you are eligible. And then third case, also you are eligible because you got the instructor permission. Fourth one, you are passed only one, but you are not getting instructor permission, so you are not eligible for the subject. Fifth one, you pass only one subject, that is 222, but you are getting instructor permission, so you are eligible. Then sixth one, you pass only one, that is 222, but you are not getting the instructor permission, and final 2, you are not passed both subjects, so that means you are not eligible, right? Okay, what about the decision tree? Can you think about the decision tree?
That passing, that there are 2 lines, one is passing, like,
Yes, pass, fail, then instructor permission, right?
yeah.
So for example, you can say something like,
Starting point passing.
yeah, we can say, let's say MIS, let's say 120. You will have 2 direction, pass and fail. Yes. You can say pass here, fail here. Let's say this is pass, this is fail. And then you will have MIS 222. So you have to have MIS 222. Then again, you will have pass and fail. So we have pass, fail. So then you don't need actually, represent the instructor permission here because you are pass, which means you are eligible. So this one you pass, but this is fail. So we can say instructor permission here, that you can put it here. Then this one fail, again we can have MIS 222. Then again you can have pass and fail, right? If you fail, you don't have to take student, instructor permission, you are fail anyway. But then here you can have instructor permission, right? So you can see the possible combinations are reduced. You don't have to look for all possible 8 combinations actually. Because when you pass both, you don't have to get for instructor permission. You will get a simpler tree, right? So the answer would be, we prefer decision tree because it will be simpler compared to the decision table that we have taken. So what I did here is MIS 120 pass fail. Then for both cases, I will put MIS 222. Again, pass fail, pass fail. So when you have pass, then you can directly say eligible. Fail, fail, then you can say not eligible. And when you have pass and fail, only for that cases, you can put instructor permission, yes and no. And whenever you get instructor permission, you can say eligible, right? So in that way, you will get a simpler tree, right, compared to decision table. Actually, you don't have to check all possible 8 combinations. So here you have to check only for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 only, right? Okay, so that's all I think I have for you today. The remaining is the group work. Do you have any other question? If not, I can put you in groups. Okay, may I clear the screen?
Yes, doctor, you can clear.
Right. Okay, so let's start with the group for today. So again, similar to the previous one, this is about your organization and proposing your information system. So I will put you in the same groups, and then you should work on as a group, select one of the organizations and assume that you are going to come up with the information system. So I want you to draw a context diagram as well as diagram 0 DFT, which represent the information system. Right. So, and also I will open up assignment submission link so then you can, submit your work. Okay, so I will be opening rooms again, and those who are not, join, I will be assigning to groups. Somaratna, I will put you in one of the groups. Right, please join the groups.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, Somaratna calling. Sir. Group number 4.
4.
Hari. Sir. Sir, I can't be joined the group, sir. So I can be submit the assignment in individual, sir. Individually. Sampath, sir. I unable to join the group. Therefore, I can be submit the assignment in individual, sir.